Yo, what is up, everybody? Welcome back into the podcast. Yet another episode of Crushing Fantasy Football. I am Bryce Lockridge, your host of the show. Guys, today I'm going to be giving you my quarterback rankings for the fantasy football playoffs. We are only 1 week away from the start of the fantasy football playoffs. And if you're in a league that only plays 13 regular season games, well, your fantasy football playoffs might actually be starting this week. So that's pretty exciting, and I'm going to get right into my quarterback rankings. But guys, if you haven't already, real quick, go down and hit that subscribe button below. And if you do enjoy my content today, make sure to give me that thumbs up, as likes and subscribers help my channel grow tremendously so I can continue to give you content throughout the season and off season. All right, guys, I appreciate the support so far, and I'm going to get right into my number one quarterback, and that is Tom Brady, the GOAT. Look, this dude is having an amazing season. He's 44 years old and is playing some of the best football of his life. He's probably surrounded by more offensive weapons than he ever has been in his entire career. I mean, this dude's got three awesome receivers to throw the football to. I mean, we've got Rob Gronkowski, his go-to tight end. Leonard Fournette's been awesome for the offense. This offense is extremely efficient, and on top of that, he has a very favorable strength of schedule for the fantasy playoffs. So he is my number one quarterback for the fantasy playoffs. Next on my list is going to be Justin Herbert. This might be a little bit higher than some people have Justin Herbert on their list, but look, I am sold on this guy. He's got an absolute rocket arm. He's young in his second season. He's got a ton of great weapons to throw the ball to. He's got the deep alpha threat down the field in Mike Williams. He's got the most reliable receiver in probably all of the NFL in Keenan Allen for, beating you underneath and getting you first downs and high leverage third down situations. And this it's an awesome wide receiver duo. He's got a great pass catching running back in Austin Eckler to help him move the ball down the field. And the fact of the matter is, this team plays shootout games all the time because their defense actually gives up a pretty good amount of points, so they're involved in a lot of high-scoring games, which is always good for your fantasy quarterback because it means they never take the foot off the gas, and he's going to be trying to move the ball down the field and score touchdowns all game, every game, and so he is my number two. My number three is going to be Pat Mahomes. I never thought, guys, that I would have Pat Mahomes outside of my top one at the quarterback position, but the fact of the matter is this Chiefs offense is just not really as good as it's been in years past. I mean, obviously, they've got their number one weapon in Tyreek Hill, and they've got the best pass-catching tight end probably in all of the NFL, maybe right up there with George Kittle in Travis Kelce. So, this team still has their two best pass catchers, but the overall efficiency of the offense isn't what it used to be. So he is my number three, but, number three is still really good. He's going to be great for the fantasy playoffs. If you have Pat Mahomes as your quarterback, he's your number one quarterback. Not much to think about. And next on my list is going to be Josh Allen. Guys, you've got to love the dual threat quarterbacks. A quarterback that can run the football like the best of them and has track speed and a rocket arm is always going to be great for fantasy. I know there's a lot of lists where Josh Allen is the number one. The guys that I have ahead of him, I have very good reason to believe are going to outperform him in the fantasy playoffs. And look, Josh Allen, though, he's one of the best quarterbacks you can have in fantasy. The dude is fast. He's got a rocket arm. He's got an elite receiver in Stephon Diggs to throw the ball to. Really good second and third wide receivers in Cole Beasley and Emmanuel Sanders. He's got Dawson Knox to help pass the ball to. And, the Bills aren't a running team, but they've established at least a decent running game this year. So this team is very efficient from the offensive side of the football, and Josh Allen is the benefactor of that as far as fantasy points. So he is my number four. My number five is going to be Kyler Murray, guys. Kyler Murray look, early in the season, he was the front runner for MVP in Vegas. He's had a few injuries since then. The offense has slowed down as far as being, an offense that just puts up a ton of points. They're still winning a lot of games because they're good on both sides of the football. Either way, as Kyler Murray continues to get healthier and healthier coming back from his injury, and DeAndre Hopkins starts to get healthier and healthier coming back from his injury, and DeAndre Hopkins starts to get targeted more, and I do see an increased target share coming for DeAndre Hopkins. This Cardinals offense is going to be very good down the stretch, and Kyler Murray is going to be an absolute weapon for the fantasy playoffs. On top of that, he's got a very favorable strength of schedule, so Kyler Murray is a definite start, number one quarterback for the fantasy playoffs. Next on my list is going to be Lamar Jackson, another great dual threat running back. This might be the most athletic person in the entire NFL. This dude is an absolute threat every week to burn you on the ground, and he is one of the league's leading rushers, and he's a quarterback. I mean, what more can you say? This dude is always going to get you at least decent fantasy production because of his awesome ability to run the football. He's a little bit boom or bust as far as passing touchdowns are concerned, because quite frankly, some weeks he just looks way better than he does on others. He's still a little bit inconsistent in his young career, but there's definitely weeks where he gives you an awesome ceiling performance. So due to his weekly upside, I have him at my number 6. My number 7 is going to be Matt Stafford. Look, guys, we've seen the emergence of Cooper Kupp in this offense, and it's really helping Matt Stafford. I mean, Matt Stafford finally has a good team loaded with offensive weapons to throw the ball to. They went and acquired OBJ. They've got Van Jefferson. They've got a great wide receiving core. They're an aerial assault offense. Sean McVay never really takes the foot off the gas, loves to go out every week and put up as many points as possible on his opponent. And so Matt Stafford is my number 7. My number 8 is going to be Dak Prescott. Look, we've got 3 elite wide receivers in Dallas, Michael Gallup, Amari Cooper, and CeeDee Lamb. I mean, this team has more offensive weapons probably than any team in the entire NFL. Dalton Schultz is an awesome pass-catching tight end. We've seen Tony Pollard emerge as an awesome running back this year out of the backfield. We've still got Ezekiel Elliott. I mean, this team has so many offensive weapons, and due to the overall efficiency of the offense, Dak has to be a top 10 quarterback, plain and simple. So he's my number 8. My number 9 is going to be Aaron Rodgers. Guys, Aaron Rodgers is one of the best quarterbacks of all time. He's got his number 1 go-to in Devontae Adams, a great pass-catching running back out of the backfield in Aaron Jones, and we've even seen A.J. Dillon start to be used more as a pass-catching running back. So considering the fact that this team gets in the end zone a lot and they've got the awesome gunslinger in Aaron Rodgers that is really good in every facet of the game, he is my number 9. My number 10 is going to be Jalen Hurts. Guys, Jalen Hurts, another dual threat quarterback. I mean, we love quarterbacks that can run and pass. This dude gives you a great floor-ceiling combination due to his ability to run the football. My number 11 is going to be Taysom Hill. Kind of the same story here. Look, Taysom Hill ran the ball for 100 yards in this past game, and despite throwing 4 interceptions, still had 20 fantasy points. I mean, think about this. This dude threw 4 picks and had 20 fantasy points because he ran the ball like crazy. He only threw 2 touchdown passes, but whether this dude has a good day in the air or not, considering how often and how efficiently he runs the ball, he's always going to give you a decent floor for fantasy purposes, and he has an absolutely massive ceiling, a pretty decent strength of schedule for the playoffs. So start Taysom Hill as your number 1 quarterback with confidence, guys. Next on my list is going to be Joe Burrow. Look, great offense. What more do you need to know? Joe Mixon's been awesome. Awesome 3-headed monster with Tyler Boyd and T. Higgins and Jamar Chase. And you know what? This team, they got a good pass-catching tight end too, and TJ Uzama. Look, this team is loaded with offensive weapons, and Joe Burrow is a great fantasy quarterback option. Next on my list is going to be Kirk Cousins. Man, Kirk Cousins has had a great year, guys. He is a top 10 quarterback. He has only thrown 3 interceptions, I believe, and he's just been extremely efficient. I mean, he has legitimately been one of the best quarterbacks in the entire NFL this year. I think that his weekly ceiling is a little bit capped because he's just not really a quarterback that's going to come out and give you that huge boom performance of 30-plus points really ever, because this team likes to lean on the run a whole heck of a lot, especially when Dalvin Cook is healthy. So that caps Kirk Cousins' ceiling a little bit. But the fact of the matter is he's extremely consistent to get you reliable production on a week-to-week basis, and he very rarely busts. So he is my number 13. My number 14 is going to be Derek Carr. Derek Carr's been pretty darn good this year. He's had a lot of 300-plus yard passing games. They added Deshaun Jackson, so they have a field-stretching wide receiver now. We've seen Hunter Renfrow just come on the scene hot, and he's had 2 100-yard games in a row receiving, and he's really become the go-to receiver for the Las Vegas Raiders. So that's going to help the team tremendously, and Derek Carr will have solid fantasy production as a consequence of this. Next on my list is going to be Carson Wentz. Man, the Colts offense has been on fire, guys. They are now one of the highest-scoring offenses in the entire NFL. Jonathan Taylor is on one this year. He's clearly the best running back in all of fantasy football now that Derrick Henry is hurt. And look, Jonathan Taylor and this Colts offense have been unstoppable. Carson Wentz is going to put up good fantasy numbers due to being in a high-scoring offense and playing way better than a lot of us expected him to play. So he is my number 15. My number 16 is going to be Russell Wilson. Obviously, Russell Wilson has been very unreliable and actually terrible from a fantasy standpoint coming back from his finger injury, but we are talking about one of the best quarterbacks in the entire NFL, arguably one of the best quarterbacks of all time in a lot of people's opinion. I think that's a little bit of a stretch, but the fact of the matter is he is a really darn good quarterback, and as he comes back from his injury on a week-to-week basis, he's going to look stronger every single week. Okay, the dude is not washed. he should be a lot healthier now than a month ago when he first came back, right? So I think that the fantasy numbers are going to get better for Russell Wilson as the season goes along, and he's a great quarterback for the fantasy playoffs. Next on my list is going to be Tua Tagovailoa. However the heck you say his last name, that's why I said it really fast. I really don't know how to say it, but Tua T, guys, he's been really good. I mean, look, he's found a very reliable receiver in Jalen Waddle. Jalen Waddle has become his go-to guy. This is a big reason for the overall efficiency of the offense being better in the second half of the season than it was in the first half. And look, Tua T has his go-to guy. They've got Devontae Parker. This offense has just looked better on a week-to-week basis, so Tua is good enough to crack my top 20. Next on my list is going to be Mac Jones. Guys, the Patriots have won 7 games in a row. This is unbelievable. The offense has been way better this year than we expected it to be. They don't really have an alpha male number 1 wide receiver, but they spread the ball around very, very successfully, and Mac Jones has been an awesome quarterback this year. So for the fantasy playoffs, he is my number 18. My number 19 is going to be Cam Newton. Okay, I'm taking a little bit of a gamble here on Cam Newton, guys, because we're just not sure exactly how things are going to go for the rest of the season. But we know that he's a talented quarterback, all right? Obviously, he's a little bit past his prime, but the fact of the matter is he can pass the football, he can run the football, and on any given week, he gives you a tremendously high ceiling because we know that as inconsistent as this guy has been in his career, he does have games where he looks like one of the best quarterbacks in football, thus giving you a tremendous, awesome weekly upside. I think he's going to be a little bit boom or bust at the quarterback position. But look, Christian McCaffrey's out for the year, guys, so this team has to become more of a pass-first team. Cam Newton, as a consequence, has to run the ball more. So that really makes things good for Cam Newton, and that's why I have him just inside my top 20. Rounding out my list at the number 20 is going to be Justin Fields, another dual-threat quarterback. You got to love a quarterback that can run the football, right, guys? That's huge for fantasy these days. Dual-threat quarterbacks are becoming the staple of the quarterback position in the NFL now. I mean, usually if you're not a dual-threat running back, if you're not a dual-threat quarterback, you're not valued that high as a quarterback anymore unless you're an incredible pocket passer like, Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, guys like that. But look, Justin Fields can run the ball. And obviously he has a lot of work to do as a quarterback, but given the fact that he gives you at least a decent weekly upside, he is just good enough to crack my top 20. All right, guys, I appreciate you tuning into the video. These are my rankings for the quarterback position for the fantasy football playoffs. So hopefully this clears up anything in case you have lineup questions or anything like that of who to start on a week-to-week basis, and you have 2 of these quarterbacks on this list. Whoever I have ranked higher, that's who I recommend starting throughout the fantasy playoffs. Obviously, these things change from week to week, so I'll be doing quarterback rankings on a weekly basis throughout the fantasy playoffs, but for now, this is what we're looking at, and I hope that this video helped, guys. I do appreciate you tuning into the video today. If you don't have any of these quarterbacks that I had on the list, and you're in a deeper league and nobody in the top 20 is an option for you at quarterback, post in the comments below, ask, who you would want me to put in as the 22, the 21, 22, 23, if you don't have anybody on this list. All right, guys, I appreciate you tuning into the video, and I will catch you later.